Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now, this is part 2 of the record cleaning video I did a couple of days ago, actually it is now. Caused a bit of controversy. I've had a few phone calls. That was kind of saying, unless you're going to use a record cleaning machine, all these other things that are available, like your little brushes and all this sort of thing, yeah, okay, use them, but use them very, very sparingly. Perhaps I was a bit too strong on it, saying don't ever do it, because I don't do it. But then again, I have an access to a cleaning machine, so probably a bit unfair. So if I buy anything second hand, I would always put it on a cleaning machine. But after that, it's management that keeps them good. Don't keep cleaning. Don't keep scrubbing them with brushes and all that sort of thing. That's the point I was trying to make. But anyway, this video is basic. I just want to show the operation of a cleaning machine. Just talk about a few things with them, really. A few of the models available and things like that. I don't do that many. I've got 4 different models that I sort of do fairly regularly. But so I'll talk about those and other options as well, because there's others out there as well which are good. So that's it. Yeah, what I'm going to do is sort of turn the camera around and just have a look at. I've brought one sort of favourite up to show you, and I'll run it as well. So I'll clean a record. I'm not going to really be able to do before and after, because I don't think, again, it's the old music thing. As soon as you play any music, YouTube shuts you down. So I can't really do that. But you just have to take my word for it that these things really work. They are very good. So anyway, I'll turn the camera around and let's have a look. What I've brought up is the Watson's record cleaning machine, which isn't that well known in the UK, actually. I've noticed there's quite a few shops out there that do sell it, but it does seem to be in the minority, really. The obvious one, I also do the Okinoki. I also do the 3 different projects, which go from about 350 to about 450-ish, I think, something like that for the project. The Okinoki's 500, and the Watson is 500 as well. Preference for the Watson is partly with various reasons, actually. Sort of availability of it. The build quality is probably the best out there, I would say, really. It's beautifully made, it's aluminium cased. But also it's very small. It's actually intended to be used, if you've seen them in IKEA, the Kallax units. And a lot of people use those for record storage. So if you've got a Kallax unit with your records in, you can have a little segment there to stick your Watson's record cleaning machine in as well. So it's quite neat. It's quite a good idea, that, really. Features-wise, it's kind of the same as all the others. There's slight differences to possibly the Okinoki, I suppose. The Okinoki has forward-backwards for the turntable platter. This is just a straightforwards. I've never really understood why you would want backwards, but if you want forwards-backwards, then Okinoki's the one for you, I suppose. Vacuum switch, and it's got an actual sort of level control for the vacuum, which I don't quite get, because I would. Then generally, you just put the vacuum. You want the vacuum on full, really. You don't want it missing anything. So it's got a feature which I don't quite understand why it's got it. But anyway, platter-wise, it's not. It may look like a full-size platter, but it isn't. It's only about a sort of 9-10 inch platter. So the record does overhang a bit. Some people are a little bit wary of that. It's not an issue, to be honest, because it's clamped in the middle, and you're not putting much pressure on the record at all when you're cleaning it. In fact, it's probably beneficial, the fact that it's like that, because it stops you putting too much pressure on the record. Got a nice clamp on it, which is reverse thread, which always catches me out. So you take the clamp off, and then there's like a sealed sort of label protector. So that's got like a rubber seal around the edge of it, which you can see that, which is good. So you put that over, protects the label, and then do that upside down. And then you put this on reverse. Oh dear, that's it, got it. And just nip it down a little bit, and that holds the record securely and stops the label getting any sort of ingress from fluids. And the actual vacuum arm is kind of similar to everybody else's, really. It's almost identical to the Okinoki in the project, really. It looks all loose and broken until the vacuum kicks in and everything goes rigid, and it needs to sort of have a fair bit of play in it there, so it can actually just find its own level on the record. You don't really want it to be too fixed when it goes down, because you want it to have an even pressure on the record surface. So that works very well. So what I need to do next, which could be interesting, is to do a demonstration of how it works. And don't be misled by the manufacturers of these cleaning machines, because they all say ours is much quieter operation than everybody else's, or it's whatever. They all seem to mention the noise of operation. Now, pretty much all of these machines, until you start spending a few £1,000s, they're all really noisy. Not so much the turntable. If you switch the turntable on, that's pretty quiet. It's the vacuum, and the vacuum very much reminds me, actually, when I got married, we were gifted, if you remember them, a very, very early Hoover Junior Hoover, which weighed about as much as a car, and it sounded like this. I'm not sure how that's going to come over on the microphone, but that's loud, really loud, and they're all the same. I mean, you can't sort of say, oh, I don't want a project because it's too noisy. You're not going to get away from it. That's how noisy they are, really. Luckily, you don't actually need the vacuum for very long. So what I might do when I'm actually doing the cleaning of the record, what I'll probably do is use equalisation on the editing software and just drop down the level a little bit. Just you'd have to put up with that. So anyway, let's clean a record. Let's have a go and see what happens. Could be interesting. Okay, to start, let's take off the little clamp. Take this off, put it upside down so it's not going to pick anything up. The record I've chosen is one I did buy new, actually, but it's for some reason, and I don't know why, because I do actually like this record a lot. It's Joe Cocker Sheffield Steel, and I got into the habit of using this in the workshop to test, almost as a reference recording to test record players on. So it spent a lot of time going completely against what I've said about vinyl management, going completely against that and leaving it out for lengths of time and leaving it on a deck while I set it up and then trying it again and doing all sorts of things. So it's sat out in the dust quite a bit, and looking at it, you can see on the surface, or hopefully see on the surface, I'll get a bit of an extra light on there. It has sort of managed to get quite dusty, this. Now, like I say, generally I don't worry too much about that, but I think if you bought something second hand and it looks like that, you probably want to get it back to perfect condition before you start playing it on your system, just in case people have been using fluids on it or anything on there that might be sort of gum up the stylus. So let's give it a clean, see how that goes. Just finding the middle part is quite... There you go. So that completely covers the label. And this is the bit I always get wrong. I'm trying to remember which way the reverse thread goes. Not that way, obviously. There you go. Just not too tight, just a little bit of pressure on it, and you can see the actual rubber surround compress onto the vinyl. So we start at first part of the operation is to put some fluid on. I've got two types, actually. I'm not going to use this one, but that's Project Wash It, which is I think it's an enzyme-based record cleaner. These are okay, actually. The only thing is they don't seem to have a very, very long shelf life, because anything with enzymes in just tend to go off after a while. This is something I made up myself, which I'm not going to admit to what's in it, because people will shout at me. So basically there's isopropyl on this, and it's a mix of isopropyl, what do you call it? Very pure water, I can't remember what you call it now. It's either deionized water or the other name, which is just completely escapes me for the moment, but I'll probably stick that underneath. And a release agent in there as well, which, it's not called a release agent, can't remember. This basically put something in there just to stop surface tension, so which works quite well. But anyway, and I've completely forgotten how to take the lid off. So what you do is put a sort of a minimalish amount, try and sort of dribble it around a little bit. So you've got a few blobs of the stuff all over the place. Don't overdo it, because it just all comes off the edges, which I think that's probably about right. I mean, you shouldn't, there is quite an argument for not using isopropyl at all. Some people are very against it, and you probably shouldn't put isopropyl on records. Years ago, you can see how it sort of spreads across the surface when you do that. Years ago, I used to do an awful lot of cleaning records on a record cleaning machine, and it was a Keith Monk's cleaning machine, and we always used, I can't remember the proportions now, but isopropyl and the deionized water on that, and it worked very well, except it started to feel a little bit heady after a while. Right, just take my time with this because you just want to make sure it's covered. I'm not putting any pressure on this at all. It's just the weight of the brush itself is just following around. Right. If you hear the sound go a bit weird, it's because I'll try and turn down the noise now. You move the arm across, turn on the vacuum, and if you'll see it bring off the fluid straight away. That's it, clean. So it's actually quite a quick operation. It's much quicker than things like the Keith Monks and the Loricraft. And there's a new one that's just come out as well, because they tend to use almost like a tone arm with a very single point vacuum to pull off, you know, so you're also almost playing the album to take off all the dirt. There's benefits of that. It means you're not sort of touching the surface anything like as much as you are with a brush, because I'm not I'm not that into touching the surface of records with things particularly. It's not a great idea. But so things like Loricrafts and the other one I mentioned. God, I'm really losing memory. Anyway, yeah, I think they're a bit kinder to the record, but the 2,000-3,000 plus for a cleaning machine, and I think really these do such a good job. What I'm going to do is quickly do the other side. Seeing as I've started, I might as well do both. You do get a little bit of leakage to the side. Oh, saying that, I haven't really. What I didn't do was show you how lovely and clean it is now, but I'm sure you can use your imagination on that. There, yeah. So run that again. Turntable on. I didn't put enough on last time. It isn't something I use a lot, this. It's just occasionally I'll have a little sesh and clean a few things I bought second hand. There you go. Like I say, just the weight of the thing itself, and make sure it actually covers the entire disc as well. Right. That's it, getting good coverage on that now. You don't want to be too quick about this because you sort of want the fluid to sort of take the dust and sort of put it into a solution for the vacuum to take off again. Yeah, as far as cleaning fluids go, like I say, projects or if you go on the internet, there's various ways, you know, to make up your own, various sort of bits of advice about that, which worth having a go at. But also, one of my competitors, you could call him a competitor. The guy who makes the mains cables, Mains Cables Are Us, MCRU, he makes his own solution, which is apparently very good, and it doesn't use enzymes, so has a longer shelf life. Anyway, apologies for this. Clean. I mean, generally, if I like I say, I had bought this second hand. I know the history of this. Basically, it's just dusty because of my mismanagement. But if I had bought it second hand, I probably would run it through twice, just to be sure. But that's come up really nice. As you can see from here, it's taking all that sort of excess dust off. Yeah, let's just get me light again. So, try and, yeah, basically as new. They're really, really effective. So let's just put that away quickly before we accrue any dust. And I suppose the drawback of a record cleaning machine is that you do need to have a bit of, can't get it in its sleeve. Get in there. That's it. You do have to sort of maintain them quite well. The fluids all go into a little container, that needs emptying. I've found that if you don't keep the actual, you can't really see them on there, but there's some felt pads that sit like a protection for the record. What's going on with this? There's some felt pads under the arm that sort of are there to sort of create the suction, really, because they sort of sit on the record, and the vacuum, there's a slot there that the vacuum pulls the fluid through. But to close the gap, there's 2 felt pads either side that create a seal when it's actually working. Now those felt pads, you need to keep those meticulously clean. I tend to every now and again take the arm off and just get a bluntish knife and just run along there and just to take any excess dust out. Ultimately, you can replace them. Very, very cheap to replace. You just buy the little pads and just peel them off and stick some new ones on. So there is a little bit of maintenance with these, but it's for the actual effect and the results you get from these. They're worth it, really. And like I say, this is probably the only way I would sort of do any sort of regular cleaning of anything, really, because I'm not really into touching the vinyl. Reverse thread. So there you go. Let's move the camera for a second. So that's the Watson's record cleaning machine. Hopefully I've redeemed myself after the previous video. I think some people didn't quite see where I was going with that, really. I think it was, I was talking to a chap in the shop today and saying, I was trying to say to people, don't scrub your records to within an inch of the lives, because it amazes me how many people do this. They just scrub at the surfaces with different brushes and cloths and fluids and all sorts of things just to try and get them clean, and it does cause more of a problem than it solves, really. So very, very occasional cleaning if it bothers you, but if you've got the finances to do it and you want to really do it properly, get something like the Watsons or an Okinoki or the Project cleaning machines. They're all on the website. If you want to know more about them, they're all on the website, so just have a look on there. But yeah, I hope this is interesting. I hope the sound of it didn't scare you too much, but they are all like that. It's just nature of the beast, really. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a subscribe and a like, and that's it, really. Nothing else to say. I'll see you in a future video.